It's rolling.
Yep, you're good.
All right. All right. I'm here with Olympic bronze medalist Grant Fisher. We were just talking off camera about how different this is. Have you ever been on like a big commercial shoot or anything like that of this scale? Like this is elevated.
Yeah, I mean, you walk in this place and it's like, wow, we've got some serious funding going on behind the scenes. I've been on some Nike shoots before, smaller scale than this. You know, the biggest media day I guess you would have in track is before some of the Diamond Leagues,
Yeah.
and that is nothing in comparison to this. So this is fun. I mean, they found a good timing for it too. You know, I wouldn't want to do this the day before a race. But in October, I'd love to come to LA and hang out and do this stuff. So it's been fun.
All right. So where are we at with this Olympic hangover? Like, afterwards, you attempted racing a couple times on Diamond League circuit. Then you were like, all right, actually, I'm tired. My body, my brain needs a break. Now where are we at?
Yeah, so I didn't try to race a couple times. I tried to race once,
What?
and it went horrible. I felt absolutely awful, and my mind and body were just shut down. So called it a season, and yeah, I took a good month and a half of really, I wouldn't even call it light training. It was off. Needed that reset mentally, emotionally. I was cooked, and took the time to come back. And now I'm building some volume again, some structure, and getting back to workouts and slowly, getting back into it. I was just speaking with Yared, and we're like, man, we've got 11 months still until the World Championships, which is a pretty long time. So there's lots of hard training ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're at this point now where we can reflect on 2024, was this year everything you could have asked for? I mean, obviously there's like two places better that you could have gotten at the Olympics, but all in all, just like the changes you made leading into the season and these risks that you took upon yourself, like everything seemed to have paid off and clicked.
Yeah, it all worked out almost as well as it could have in the end. Like you said, the only way it could have been better would be a gold or a silver. But there's only two guys that get those, so those are hard to get. Yeah, a lot of risk, a lot of change in the past year, and when I made all of those changes, I was very content with whatever the outcome was going to be. I knew that betting on myself was going to make me the happiest, and whether I was super successful or I fell flat on my face, I was going to be happy because they were my decisions that led to those outcomes. So thankfully, they worked out great, and I had the year of my life. I'd done great things in the sport before that, but I never won a medal. And that was something that had tormented me and eluded me for so long, and I finally got two of them. So it feels great. And yeah, it feels even better when you feel so much ownership over them. I know that it was my decision-making and my risk-taking that led to those outcomes. So it felt good.
Your coach has told the story already about how, like, when you shared your goals with him for the year, you said, like, an Olympic medal, but it was plural, I think, or something like that took him by surprise. Like, where did the confidence for that come from for you to set, two medals as, like, your goal?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. When you have 0 medals, your first goal should be to get 1 medal, not 2. But, the Olympics only come every 4 years. This was a very prime Olympics for my age and my event group. So I wanted to give myself 2 opportunities to do something great. And I thought that, if I optimized everything around myself, I could get on that podium twice. I'd done the double before in previous championships. I'd never been on the podium before, but I'd done pretty well. In Tokyo, I was 5th. In Eugene, I was 4th. In Budapest, I was hurt, so I didn't make the team. So I was hoping I was running somewhat of a linear progression almost to get onto the podium. And I came away with 2 bronzes, and hopefully that semi-linear progression continues and can be back on the podium next year.
So does it make it tough to start thinking, toward next year about, what your goals will look like for next year? Or is it just, all right, there's only 2 places to improve upon, and gold is still the goal?
Yeah, it's actually quite simple.
Yeah.
I've had the taste of medals before, and I want some different colors now. It's as simple as that. So I know what I did this year works. I know that the training system and the peaking schedule and the taper schedule and all that stuff worked well. There's some, small adjustments we can make that hopefully, make the difference between bronze and silver and gold. But we'll have to wait 11 months to see if those really pay off. In the meantime, we've got some Grand Slam track stuff going on. So that'll be fun too. And that'll dominate the structure of my season for sure. But as far as goals go, yeah, I mean, I knew immediately by the end of the season in 2024, what the goal for 2025 was, and it's get even higher on the podium.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the decision to sign with Grand Slam. What compelled you, I guess, as you were learning about, the ins and outs of the league, to put pen to paper and be like, all right, I'm in for all of it?
Yeah, I think it's the league itself is something that athletes, as well as coaches and fans and sponsors, have been asking for, and that's just consistency. Track is an incredible sport, and I saw firsthand at the Olympics how many people tuned in person and remotely. The amount of people that have told me like, hey, I've never watched a track race before, but I watched that 10K and I watched the whole thing and it had me on the edge of my seat. You don't get that with a Diamond League race. You don't get that with a domestic race or a Continental Cup race. So when there is intrigue and there is a reason to watch, people watch. And one of the great things about the Olympics was everyone knew when the Olympics were going to happen, and everyone knew that the best people in the world were going to be there. So hopefully Grand Slam becomes something like that, where you can reliably buy a ticket for a race in December, and that the best people are going to be there and they're going to be competing. And it's not like some of the other races in track where the fields shift a lot all up until the week before. And for an athlete, it's great to sign to something where I know what my schedule is now. A lot of times you go into a season and you don't know what next month's racing schedule is. So it's fantastic exposure for athletes. I want to race the best people in the world. I like having a consistent, predictable schedule, and it'll be fun. And also, if you were an athlete that only wanted to maximize your financial situation, that's all you cared about, then this would be the correct decision still. Throw away all the other reasons to do it. The funding behind this is great, and if you want to incentivize athletes to do something,
little money helps.
Money talks. Yeah. So I think this is going to be really fun, and to be part of the inaugural year is going to be a blast. And I'm sure there'll be things that are learned by everybody this year that'll be implemented in future years, but to be part of the first one is going to be special. So I'm excited.
One of the most interesting things that I picked up on in just talking to the racers has been the fact that someone like Luis is looking at getting the most of sharpening his tactics, right, for a championship, because he'll be able to face some of the top guys that he'll see at the World Championships. And he doesn't get that being a Guatemalan athlete because there's no national championships. Do you feel like you come into Grand Slam with a little bit of an edge over some of the other possible challengers and racers, because you do have to put up with the U.S. championships every year, and that in and of itself is a model of what these slams could be like? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think more championship racing experience is good.
Yeah.
And the most compelling races, to me as an athlete, and I think to fans as well, are pure races. Sometimes when things are really strung out from the gun and it becomes kind of a time trial, the result can be predicted at halfway.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. But in an unstructured race like the Olympic final, like the U.S. championships, like Grand Slam, there's a lot more intrigue and excitement. And if those are the most important races in our sport, which they are, you need to practice that. And you need to practice against really good people. And every one of these races is going to be a good opportunity for that. So people are going to hone their tactics as they go. I've never doubled a 5K and 3K over the span of 3 days before, and I don't think anyone else in the field has. So people are going to be learning the whole time on how to, gauge out your effort in the first race, recover, and be ready for the second one. So it's going to be really interesting. But, Luis has been fourth at global championships, I think twice now. He's knocking on the door of a medal. I have some medals now. Ronald has some medals. It's to be seen who our fourth racers going to be, and then there's going to be 4 challengers that are hungry and ready to go. So it's going to be championship racing, which is what matters in our sport and what is most entertaining in our sport. So it's a win-win.
By the time this probably comes out, I think the locations will be like public for people. So, I think the added intrigue here is like Jamaica, a 3K, 5K in Jamaica in the heat. That could also get pretty fun, at least for the spectators. But in the moment, it might not be as fun for the racers.
No, it'll be really exciting. So I live in Park City, Utah now.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this will be released, but it's October right now.
Yeah.
And cross-country skiers come up to Park City to train a lot right before their season starts. And that time is right now. And they all go roller skiing.
I just saw you post this on your story, right?
Yeah. So there was a roller skiing race just outside of Park City that I went to. And it's an up and down course. It's on almost like a bike path type surface. And you're on, if you don't know what a roller ski is, it's like a short ski with rollerblade wheels in line underneath. And there was this race with Olympic medalists, global medalists, some of the best cross-country skiers in the world. And I went to watch, and it was awesome. And no one cared about time. The racers didn't care. The spectators didn't care. It was all about the race. And every single one came down to like the last 100 meters, maybe 50 meters, just an all-out dash for the finish. And it was exciting. And I think at times we overcomplicate track a little bit for the general audience and get away from what people love about it. And that's just head-to-head racing. It's why people race in the schoolyard. It's why like people want to do their like elementary school 100-yard dash. It's like that race probably isn't actually 100 meters and no one cares about the time, but it's about competition.
Yeah.
And those storylines. So, yeah.
I guess this is it feels like a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Like with the American records that you've got, right? And now you're leaning into a season model that is not as focused on times in the early parts of it. I'm sure you'll find opportunities to, showcase what your fastest 5K or 10K could be in a season. But if, it ended, if you never PR'd again, how do you feel about this being your PR? I guess like what I'm saying is like not stressing about times as much anymore.
Yeah.
For this like short chapter of your career so far.
Yeah.
This upcoming chapter.
I think, I guess part of your question is, would you be content if your career ended now?
Exactly.
With your time?
Although you still got plenty of time.
I would say, yeah, I would be pretty happy with it. If someone were to break one of my American records, I think I would want that back pretty bad.
True.
And so I'd probably try to set something up to attack that record again. But racing is super fun, and time trialing is fun too.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, track is a very unique sport where it's one of the few endurance sports where everything is very standardized. Swimming might be the only comparable one, but like track's 400 meters wherever you go. As long as you're roughly at sea level, your times are going to be roughly the same. You can compare, you can debate about super shoes and stuff, but you can kind of compare across years and generations and yourself last year, compared to yourself 2 years ago. But like,
there's always the temptation to want to go faster.
Yeah,
right?
And it is cool.
Yeah.
What is my limit time-wise? And how does that compare to every American that's ever existed? But it's really fun also just to be like, am I the best guy in the world?
Yeah.
Today? Maybe I'm not the best guy in the world tomorrow, but today at this race, am I in the top 3 in the world? Am I top 2? If you can get all of the best people in the world in that location, you can find out.
Yeah.
And that's really fun too.
I guess one other key component to this league that is going to be interesting in this first year is the stakes, right? Like obviously the athletes are going to get paid really well here, but I guess like what for the fans, like they're not getting extra money in their pocket. How do we raise the stakes? And I guess like why more fans should care about seeing you guys participate in this league and in this format?
I guess to anyone that would be interested in watching but is on the fence, I would say if you enjoyed the Olympics, you would enjoy something like this.
Yeah.
And it's an even more compressed version of that as well. People love those head-to-head matchups. People love storylines. And you'll have a recurring storyline over each of the 4 slams. So, the Olympics, in my mind, when I was at the Olympics, it felt like that was the marquee event of the entire Olympics. And I think everybody for the past decade has been scratching their heads and saying, like, why does everybody watch the Olympics, but no one watches the World Championships, and no one watches the Diamond League, and no one watches USA's in comparison? And I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's consistency, maybe it's just exposure. But I'm hoping this kind of bridges the gap. And, also as an athlete, it can be tough. For example, last year I was hurt. I missed out on the World Championships. That is season defining. You have one shot to do something big. But in golf or tennis, you don't have one event that dictates your season. You have like 4 or 5 really, really big opportunities to do something special. So if you stumble or are sick in a certain, race, competition, tennis match, whatever, you have another opportunity. Your season isn't a wash. So this will be nice because you have exposure 4 times a year at least to do something special.
Yeah. All right, so let's size up your competition so far. You got Luis, you got Ronald Kwemoi, who you haven't faced a whole lot, right? It was aside from the Olympics. Was that the only time?
I believe we raced at the 2022 World Championships in the 10K.
A lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 racers so far. One more will be added. Who do you want to see come in as that final racer, and then like possible challengers? Obviously, Jakob is the big flashy one. If we put up a graphic, he floods, like his fans flood the comment section, and the model for this thing is ripe for someone like him. But is there anyone else?
Yeah, Jakob would be the person that I would want the most also in the league. I think some of the Ethiopian guys would be really fun to have. Yomif, Aragawe, both of those guys would be fantastic additions, I think. It'd be really cool to have the whole Olympic podium out there. I don't know if Jakob's going to sign or not. Maybe he'll come in for specific races and not all 4. But I want the best people here. Another sporting example. I think it's great to learn from different sports, and
totally.
You look at something like boxing. Like when you beat the guy with the belt, you take the belt. Like if you were to beat the defending global medalist at this, obviously they're not going to give you their gold medal, but like in a symbolic way, you have shown that you are of that caliber. So yeah, I want the best people because, if I wanted to win every race, I would just enter in very small domestic meets. But that doesn't make you better, and that's not that fun. Like another great example would be I grew up with a brother, and we were very competitive. And like I didn't want to win a card game against him if he didn't try. But if he tried really hard and it was a battle, and I won, that felt incredible. Even if I lost, it's like that battle and that competition is what I love as an athlete, and is way more compelling as a fan too. So I want the best people, and I think, Jakob would be my number 1 draft pick, I guess. Then I would probably want Yomif and Aragawe. Some of the Ugandan guys, I think, were a little hesitant. I would love to have Cheptegei out here or Kiplimo.
Yeah.
I'd heard they were a little hesitant.
Or they might move to the roads.
Because they're moving to the roads potentially. So we'll see. I trust that it'll be a good field, though.
Yeah. All right, Grant. Well, we appreciate you stopping by to chat with us, and best of luck with, fall training as it starts to kick back into, full gear. And we're excited for everything you've got ahead with both Grand Slam and then Tokyo next year.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's going to be a fun year.